This week on Misadventures. No, I'm only joking. Welcome back to Misadventures Recap. And let me tell you, a lot has happened in week 2. An abundance of mountable rats have appeared on the server after word gets out how to unlock them. The Milky Speakeasy, a secret underground milk tavern, sets up shop under the streets of Merriport. But most important of all, Terry the Frog is alive and well.
Terry is still alive and well, aren't you, bud?
We also had Smallishbeans fully embracing the roleplay aspect of the server.
Hello, Governor.
Gemini Tay making an appearance in Merriport.
He's already in a cult, so like you don't want to go that route.
I'm not in a cult.
Yeah.
And LDShadowLady swatting away unwanted suitors.
I'm married.
Oh my gosh, Fabius!
So much has happened in week 2 of Misadventures, so let's do the rounds and see what everyone's been up to. But before we do, make sure you subscribe if you're enjoying Misadventures and want to stay up to date on everything going on.
Let's start with Avid. Avid decides he wants to grind the dungeons for a rare backpack drop, as well as to become the highest level on the server. For these dungeon runs, we're treated to another certified Avid classic, Slimed in the Dungeon. However, the poison was really starting to be an issue. He realizes there's one item in the game that could really make things easier: milk. Avid purchases the Wellhouse Nook in Merriport, coaxes a herd of animals inside with the help of the server god, and gets to work on building a milk empire. But building an empire alone isn't easy. That's when reformed milk hater Drift shows up. Together they begin planning and gathering resources for an underground milk tavern, and thus the Milky Speakeasy is born. With the secret escape route through Sausage's floor, which was traded to secure some of the building permission, Avid and Drift had successfully created a secret milk haven that may or may not be in need of a health inspection, especially the sacred whole milk.
Yes, the holiest of milk. Whole milk.
Back at the crash pod, Avid purchases the entire valley and nearby mountain for a whopping 30,000 gold. After hearing about a new dungeon reward, he heads straight to the Lost Crypt and reveals a new sacrifice pedestal that lets you obtain a shulker box for a diamond block. And he might need a few, as he shows off the 5,000 glass he mass smelted on a recent stream. He unveils his mega build project of turning the entire valley into a 4-themed paradise, starting with one massive custom tree, but not before being paid a visit by his business partner Drift. She explains how the Milky Speakeasy is off to a slow start and might need a little marketing help. They reveal their new business attire and even workshop some new names.
You know, some people have started calling me the milk father of sorts, and
I'm the milk brother.
For the custom tree build, Avid is going to need a ton of honey, so turns the bee farm he built on stream into an automated system. There was a slight setback when he accidentally punched a bee and they all tried to kill him.
this is bad. This is bad. A lot of bees will die.
But after a few hours of waiting, he has all the materials he needs. And of course, it wouldn't be an Avid video without another masterpiece of a song, The Seed. He closes out the episode showcasing the beautiful custom tree build, thanking Marmalade for helping with the design and J Games for the business suits. Moving on to the partner in crime herself. Drift starts week 2 showing off her new rat mount, which she acquired while obsessively running the sewer dungeon. It's during these sewer runs that Avid calls her over to get her in on the secret underground milk speakeasy. After seeing how poorly the cows are currently living, she agrees to join the project.
The cows are breathing that smoke in. There's cobwebs.
While Avid deals with the underground building permissions, Drift heads to the resource world to grab all the materials they could possibly need. Upon returning, Avid shows off the secret bookcase entrance and they get working on the space below. One jazzy time-lapse later, the secret Milky Speakeasy is complete. They finish the tour of the cozy bar before Drift heads back upstairs to build a generic store facade. She teases some fun ideas to come, but will be back to grinding dungeons to raise money in the meantime.
Joel starts his episode with a quick tour of his now organised starter home, but wants to build something of his own out in the wilderness. To do that, he first needs to scout out a spot. Cue his patented super serious cinematic masterpiece. God, it's a mouthful. After travelling over 2,000 blocks away, he finds a dark oak forest, perfect for his secluded build idea. He transitions to some stream highlights of his dungeon runs showing off all the secret rooms and levers, and yes, joins the growing list of players to die to the lever trap. Now, with enough slime, he teams up with Ollie to take on the Lost Crypt dungeon for extra money. After begging Ollie to let him out of the gold room, they finish the dungeon and now he has enough gold to purchase his plot in the forest. Joel talks through the build time-lapse and explains the evil fairy-themed ideas he has planned, as well as other buildings to add to the area. On his way back to Merriport, he gets distracted in Orchidea, seeking praise from Watcher Riven and once again, insisting on being called handsome.
Didn't I tell you to call me handsome? Apologies, handsome Smallishbeans. How can I assist you in Arcadia today?
I feel like a story could be developing here. Or maybe he just likes being called handsome, who knows?
Jimmy opens the episode with the news I was hoping for. The cursed eyebrowless eyes are staying, but also that it's time for a summer vacation. He hires Lizzie to scout out some potential tropical destinations for a new home away from Arcadia. The travel style ad is really well made and I recommend you go watch it for yourself. Jimmy meets with Lizzie and hands over a finder's fee in return for directions to his selected island. She hands him a compass and Jimmy is on his way, but not before making a quick pit stop in into Rosalia's candle shop. He's realized how similar Rosalia looks to his real-life girlfriend and decides it's only right to make a habit of coming to flirt with her, even if it's completely one-sided for now.
She said bye. She told me to get out, basically. That's subtle for get out of my shop.
To be able to afford his new island, Jimmy runs a few dungeons and borrows the final 1,200 coins from Martin in exchange for an IOU. We'll see if he ends up regretting that later. After a quick sail down the river, he sets foot on his new island for the first time, Isla Bonita. One build time-lapse later, the vacation home is complete. With plans to replace the surrounding trees with custom palm trees, he asks his viewers to recommend some other island-themed build ideas to finish off the island. Now back at Bonita Casita, he reveals his new pet donkey, Bonita Donquita, which they named on one of his recent live streams. Traversing the wilderness once more, Bonita Donquita has made it to the island, and Jim reveals his outfit change. He is fully in summer vacation mode, with his questionably short shorts and unbuttoned floral shirt flexing his summer body that he worked so hard for.
Back to the travel agent herself, Lizzie begins week 2 in her partially decorated Market View home. She decides that it is now customary in Maryport for all of her neighbours to provide her with a house-warming gift. Going door to door, she subtly informs everyone on the new tradition and collects her gifts personally, including a clock from JoJo, which we'll be coming back to later. Back home, she places the finishing touches to her apartment, and this is when things take a turn. Lizzie is essentially the dungeon master of this server, and she decides it's finally time to reveal a secret about Molly Shepherd. As everyone knows by now, Molly's sheep have been repopulating constantly since the server began, being slaughtered over and over again just to be fed to the sewer rats in return for mounts. But all actions have their consequences. Molly has been keeping track of these misadventurers, and it's revealed that every player has a secret reputation score. Much like the rats in the sewer, Molly has a mount for sale, but only for those with positive reputation. Looks like Scott and some of the others will have to work extra hard if they want to get back in her good books. This is also where NPC quests are introduced. Molly requests the players to shear 50 sheep in return for some gold, XP, and most importantly, the reputation. Lizzie completes the quest and is able to buy the sheep mount. And isn't it adorable?
Oh my gosh! Look how cute it is!
Martin spots her riding the sheep through town and asks her how to get one for himself. Lizzie reveals Molly's reputation list, and Martin instantly realizes how much work it will take to right his wrongs. Trotting away, Lizzie asks herself if she's evil for doing this to the misadventurers, but decides she's just a dungeon master teaching her players about morality. Now, speaking of players who may have killed a few too many sheep, let's move on to Rendog. He starts his episode with a dramatic narration of the absolute massacre he has inflicted upon Molly's sheep, even going as far as to craft Molly's Bane, the ultimate sheep murdering weapon, all in the name of unlocking his first rat mount. After feeding the sewer rats a ridiculous amount of cooked mutton, he has finally earned enough reputation to purchase the brown rat mount from Slink, naming him Cornelius Fortesque III.
Maybe Cornelius has something to do with Ding.
While making these trips to the sewer dungeon, Ren was able to loot 3 of the newly added backpacks, selling 1 to Cam and keeping the other 2 for himself. Now, as people are starting to get settled on the server, it's time for the players to start thinking about building their own dungeons. Ren lays out the start of a kitchen with plans to expand downward to a pantry and crypt. This dungeon will belong to Molly's sister, Polly, and reward the players with a method to farm cobwebs, as well as revealing Polly's true form.
Martin opens his episode revealing his new Misadventures skin made by Cherryfire and dives straight into the sewer dungeon with Ren, as he's also heard the rumors about the secret rat mounts for sale. Realizing how much these mounts will cost, he decides to purchase a second home in Arcadia for more efficient dungeon running, only to find out Taneesha has already bought up nearly every available plot in the town. After confronting Taneesha about her monopoly, they negotiate a deal of 250 coins for a lakeside villa. Martin is over the moon thinking he's just scammed the scammer with an incredible deal, only to be informed by Matt that he is the one getting ripped off. After a slight breakdown,
Chat, you need to stop telling me I'm in denial. This is not that river, okay?
Martin and Matt head into the Lost Crypt dungeon for the first time, exploring all the hidden rooms, activating the golden skeletons, and even completing both bonus puzzles. Now with more cash in hand, Martin teams up with Sausage and heads back to the sewer dungeon to unlock one more secret. If you swim up one of the sewer pipes, you'll drop into a secret cave. Here you can find Muckshell selling a Turtle Duck trading card for 500 gold. We're not sure if these cards have a use yet, but I am so excited to see how many more there are to find. In this same cave, there is another rat called Champ who sells a light grey mount, making 3 rat mounts in total. Martin feeds the rest of his cooked mutton to the rats and buys out all 3 mounts, settling on the brown rat as its green saddle matches his new skin.
Sausage begins his episode with various cult shenanigans like their daily ding and a beautiful parody song, House of the Dingaling, by Ren.
There is a house of Dingaling.
Ding-a-ling!
They call the house of Dong.
Dong, 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 dong.
But with word of a new community member joining, Sausage welcomes Jojo, aka Sister Doing, to the cult of Ding with a golden apple to protect her from any enemies of the cult. Sausage runs to greet Gem for her first time on the server, and despite being creeped out by her broken eyes, helps her get started with some gold. Sausage and Martin split from the group to go find the secret turtle duck trading card from the sewer dungeon, as well as finding all 3 rat mount traders and learning about the reputation system. Back on the surface, he scouts out an area near the Lost Crypt dungeon for a roadside tavern. With a slight interruption from Martin, they learn of a new bug that causes Sausage's game to crash anytime Martin dismounts from his rat. I'm sure Martin won't take advantage of this power.
Oh gosh, I've got to wait. Let me jump off one more time.
Oh god! Ow! 5 hours of material collecting and building later, the roadside tavern is complete. Sausage completes the tour showcasing the bar area as well as the rooms upstairs, with plans for Lizzie to RPGify the build with various NPCs and quest options. After spending all of her riches on the community land, Sev begins the episode with the goal of earning enough money for her own dungeon build. She farms the sewer dungeon over and over and finds a name tag along the way, finally allowing her to name her horse Honey, suggested by the viewers. But not before pulling the oldest trick in the parent book, swapping out her pet horse for a nearly identical but faster horse, hoping no one will notice.
This is still Honey. Definitely.
With the imposter Honey named, she bumps into Drift and immediately asks where the giant rat came from. Drift explains the rat reputation system as they head to Molly's sheep farm for yet another massacre. She even ropes Sev into swinging by the work-in-progress milk tavern that her and Avid are working on. Despite being lactose intolerant, Sev takes a couple samples and they head to the sewers together. Many stacks of mutton and buckets of milk later, Sev is able to purchase the white rat mounts. Back at the sheep farm, Sev was spying on Martin when she suddenly teleported to Scott's house. They found a bug that allows Scott to summon Sev's rat instead of his own and joke about it being karma for Sev being a stalker in the first place. She heads off to the Lost Crypt dungeon where she bumps into Scott again. He starts to worry that he was the target of the stalking in the first place, but leaves Sev to her dungeon diving. She heads to the skeleton room and figures out how the sacrifices work before dying shortly after, only to respawn back in Orchidea right behind Scott and Jimmy.
Again.
Oh my god.
I'm not following you, I swear.
Sam is following me.
Oh, you got a stalker, have you?
I do.
Yeah, she's really not doing a great job of beating these stalking allegations. Sev ends her episode finding the perfect spot for the abandoned garden, but needs to get back to grinding dungeons if she has any plan of buying it soon.
With a custom dungeon and adventure park in the works, Taneesha is going to have to make a ton of money, but not from repeatedly running the dungeons, no. She wants to get creative with her mogul moves and make money off the players instead. She quickly finds profit in renting the bottom floor of her home to Drift for 200 coins, but being a landlord isn't her only get-rich-quick scheme. She learns at this point she is one of the few people on the server with access to Silk Touch, earning a profit by selling mushroom stems to Matt for 100 coins, and even renting out the axe to Avid for 30 coins. He then accidentally broke a singular block of wheat and was charged a further 60 coins. Taneesha then sees Ollie farming mutton and tries to convince him there's a fee of 1 coin per sheep killed. Ollie, respecting the hustle, settles on paying 20 gold for a stack of mutton. But word starts to spread around Maryport of her antics.
Look at him go.
Taneesha, the inventor of capitalism.
Wild.
Taneesha decides to expand outside of Maryport and buys up 3 more properties in Arcadia. Martin immediately bites and purchases a lakeside villa for 250 coins, almost double what she paid for it. She then tries to sell Jimmy a saddle, but it backfires when he sees they're craftable on this server.
You know you can make them, right?
No, you're not supposed to know that.
With her reputation rapidly going down the drain, she forces Drift to publicly announce that she's not a scammer.
I have something to say. Taneesha is not a scammer.
But I'm not sure anyone was convinced. After selling another Maryport property to Avid, Eloise and Ollie tried to get in on the money-making scheme by bringing along a new customer, Jem. This backfires immediately and Jem somehow convinces Taneesha to give up the property for 3 whole coins. Feeling the heat of the Misadventures, she cuts her losses, and even plans an exit strategy from the cult in hopes to rebuild her reputation. Barely breaking even, it turns out she'll have to go back to dungeon diving after all.
As Taneesha looks to leave the cult, Jojo stumbles into the community town and is immediately recruited by Rent, becoming the newest member, Sister Doing. Back in her Maryport home, she notices a mysterious clock has appeared above her stairwell. And there's definitely some hints of some timeline-based lore going on here, but we're gonna have to keep watching to find out. Jojo then bumps into Lizzie, who was doing the rounds for her housewarming gifts, and gives her the mysterious clock that had just appeared earlier, assuring her there's nothing strange going on with it at all. While passing through Molly's sheep farm, she stumbles into Pearl and Shelby. She learns about the new rat mounts and asks them to join her on a Lost Crypt dungeon dive. The trio work their way through the dungeon and even defeat the golden skeletons at the end for more more loot. Making a quick pit stop at home, she notices even more clocks starting to appear but shrugs it off once again. I'm really curious to see where this is going. With her diamond stock replenished, Jojo solos the dungeon 4 more times, fighting all skeleton types, trading 2 blocks of diamonds for shulker boxes, and finally solving the parkour puzzle, declaring the Lost Crypt dungeon conquered.
Shelby begins her episode with a visit from Cam, learning a little more about the cult that she signed up for. She then bumps into Ren and Sausage trying to recruit Matt into the community. Ren questions if she's done her daily ding, and Shelby assures him that Cam has brought her up to speed. Back in Maryport, fWhip shows off his new rat mount and Shelby awkwardly gets caught trying to steal it. Avid gives a sneak peek into the Milky Speakeasy plans, and then Shelby joins Jojo and Pearl for a Lost Crypt dungeon dive. Getting stuck in the gold room, Shelby has no choice but to let Jojo honk her nose in exchange for being freed. They collect their rewards and Shelby returns home to show off the newly decorated kitchen, storage basement, and bedroom. Speaking of home improvements, Scott begins his episode by touring his now partially decorated house, introduces us to his new horse Bingo, and yes, Terry is still alive and well. Scott reveals the plan for this episode, to build an ancient ruined cult portal, which he's had planned ever since the series was first conceptualized. Scott takes a break from resource gathering to head to the sewer dungeon, and after many stacks of cooked mutton, he buys the white rat mount from Smudge. Back on the surface, Scott begins his first time-lapse of the series. He explains how the new cultists have found the ruined portal and have started incorporating their newer technology into the build. He shows off the hidden sacrifice chamber underneath with plans for more expansions in the surrounding area and below.
In complete contrast to sacrificial altars, let's head over to Katherine at Pixel Place. Katherine begins her episode by complaining about how far the dungeons are from her new home, and decides to make things easier by getting a horse. With a pretty fast new horse acquired, she treks across the wilderness to the sewer dungeon. She buys the white rat and learns about the other colour variations, but saves it for another day so that she can return to expanding Pixel Place. Starting with the Wonderwoods. She doesn't want to give too much away, but reveals the main appeal to her area will be pet related. With the Minecraft Spawn Egg update being announced, she plans for NPCs to either sell or give quests to obtain pixel pets, but that will come much later. She builds a cute pastel bridge connecting Pixel Place to the Wonderwoods and begins the next project, a town museum and stables to display various artifacts and mounts. Cutting to a bonus clip, she reveals the horse she tamed at the start of the episode had gone missing. She temporarily tamed a new horse which then also went missing, just to find out it had actually wandered into the Maryport well. Launching a full rescue mission, Avid, Drift, and Shelby help Katherine free her horse.
Yes! Yes!
She's then shown a clip from Martin's livestream where they find her initial horse sitting on his roof. Matt tries to hold it for a ransom, but thankfully, Martin tells Katherine where he left it and both horses make it home safe and sound. To prevent any further horse ransom or misplacement, fWhip's episode is dedicated to building the Maryport public stables, but not before getting distracted by the secret side quest of rat mounts. However, fWhip learns something difficult about the reputation system. Having killed so many rats during his dungeon runs, he realizes it's going to take a lot of food to undo the damage done. After almost breaking his diamond sword just from killing Molly's sheep, he loads up on mutton and heads back to champ in the secret cave. He then buys the grey rat mount as well as the turtle duck trading card before heading into town to flex it. Back on the fWhip family farm, that's just never going to get easier to say, is it? He decorates a cozy kitchen, living room and storage area, then begins prepping the plot for the public stables. He then gets slightly distracted by giving Jem a welcome tour and donating Lizzie her housewarming gift, but then he gets right back to work. With the stables mostly complete, fWhip builds a connected house for the stable hand to live in. I'd really love to see an NPC stationed here with some mount-related quests in the future. Taking a break from the building, fWhip announces a future project coming up which is going to need a ton of money, which meant more dungeon diving. During one of the runs, he's able to tame the warrior's companion, but at this point hasn't figured out a way to get him out of the dungeon just yet. Eloise then ends up turning up and showing him where to sacrifice a diamond block for a shulker box, which he then proceeds to do twice. Back at the stables, fWhip builds the finishing touches, including a stationed cart full of hay, a custom birch tree, and a small well. He ends the episode with plans for a custom dungeon to be built soon. And let me just say, the idea of a fWhip build and a custom dungeon, say less, I'm there.
Cam's episode begins with the narration of a letter to his father, telling tales of his experience in Maryport so far. Some positive stories like winning his duels against Jimmy and Joel, but also some not so positive stories like getting worms and the time Jem rejected him when he asked for a kiss. Regardless, he settled into his home nicely and now sets his sight on a new project, the University of Cambridge. To earn money for this project, he decides to apply for a job at the brand new Milky Speakeasy. He awkwardly stumbles through the interview, handing them an empty CV and having to improvise on the spot. Despite the health concerns of him having worms and being lactose intolerant, Avid and Drift like him and think he's funny. They give him a shot at a quick stand-up performance.
So I was watching TV last night, and it was a show all about beavers, and it was the best damn program I've ever seen.
and somehow gets the job as the official milk bar comedian. While passing through the town, he overhears Ren explaining his dungeon plans to Martin. He gets roped into some roleplay before sharing his plans for the University of Cambridge, a giant building with departments dedicated to the various misadventures and their lore. Ren reveals that backpacks are now lootable from the sewer dungeon. They're super rare, but he was able to collect 3 so far and is willing to trade one to Cam for 1,000 gold. After many failed counteroffers, they settle on 997 gold and 3 mossy cobblestone. Cam continues on his way and picks out a spot for the university and a starter home nearby, with plans to begin building next episode. Matt begins his episode hearing word that his neighbors have started a cult. His suspicions are confirmed as Ren, Sausage, and Shelby share a group dinging session. He slowly backs away, hoping they don't notice. Matt gives Martin and Eloise a tour of his cozy starter home, showing off the full enchantment setup and plans of a storage warehouse below. Martin and Matt then head to the Lost Crypt dungeon, slowly working their way through the labyrinth of hallways. They try to summon the golden skeletons, but Matt's game crashes, so they decide to come back again later. For now, Matt begins building his overgrown storage room, adding a fountain that floods the cracked floor before flowing into a little pond with a magical bonsai tree as the centerpiece. Heading back outside, he builds an adorable stable for his horse, which matches his house perfectly, and to complete his starter base, he adds a huge custom tree and a beautiful fishing pond out the front. Since there's no villager trading in this SMP, he wants something pretty to look at while he fishes for all those mending books. And as promised earlier, he regroups with Martin and brings Cam along to tackle the Lost Crypt dungeon once more. They fly through with ease, completing the bonus puzzles and let Matt collect all the rewards at the end.
So that just about wraps up this week of Misadventures. If there's any moments we missed, make sure to let us know down below in the comments. Also, a big thank you to Albert26 for confirming that Clio is doing streams only and not edited videos. We'll definitely make sure to try keep more focus on their content. And I think from what I see in the comments as well, Pearl is doing the same. But speaking of comments, yeah, we see you, Ollie. Your music moments weren't enough, I see, so how about I bring you up to speed on what the Orion Sound has been up to in 60 seconds. Start the clock. Ollie starts his journey in the abandoned mines where shock horror he's in need of saving. Lizzie comes to the rescue and helps him escape the mine. Ollie only cares about one thing, and that's finding Jimmy, but is what you could say is heartbroken when he finds out Jim has already settled down at Bonita Casita. They consider investing in a larger property in Maryport, with Jimmy offering to be Ollie's sugar daddy so they could be together. Ultimately, they settle on co-ownership of Bonita Casita and think about when to buy bunk beds. Ollie and Jim, who are just 2 guys, also buy Orchard House and rename it to Orchard Hose. Jim disappears and then Ollie thinks he's brave enough for a dungeon and dies and tries to recover his stuff and then dies again. He then gets scammed by Sev at the sheep farm, helps convince Molly the shepherd that Cam has worms, and then defends their home from Cam as he seeks revenge. Ollie then tries to speedrun a dungeon and somehow manages to succeed. He goes to the Nether to get glowstone and realizes he's forgot his pickaxe, but returns home and works on his interior. Settling on a Scandi fantasy aesthetic, he seems quite happy. Ollie confirms he won't be doing episodes as such, but live streams and standalone project videos. He then channels his inner assassin as he spends his time parkouring across the Maryport rooftops, claiming to be king of the city. During a run of the Lost Crypt, he shows determination to tame the skeleton dog. He tries quite literally everything, including contemplating bringing lead and doing it the old-fashioned way. My gosh, he wants that dog. Oh, how did I do?
That's really good, mate. That's good. Good catching up. There's 3 more streams since then now, so come on. Chop chop. More Ollie now, please.